loads of people that are faithful. And I was looking at it thinking, where are all these faithful people? Can I tell you in another 12 minutes of all of these faithful people? And I thought, I can't. And I was going to find all the bad dads in the Bible. And I thought, don't do the bad dads, don't do the bad dads. But even these faithful dads, when I was reading through all these faithful dads in Hebrews 11, I found that pretty much all of them, even though God says, or the Bible calls them, men of great faith, and there's some women in there as well, some of them, most of them, had big problems. Problems that are still around today, problems that we don't all suffer from, but problems that some of us have suffered from at certain times. So, Abraham was a man of great faith. Yet Abraham, I'm not saying this was a bad thing, it probably was if he carried it through, but Abraham, man of great faith, was willing to kill his own son. And you sort of think, there must have been something wrong with him. For somebody to actually be willing to kill their own son, because where was the faith bit of it? That God was going to make him a man, a father of the nations, yet if he killed his son, how was that going to happen? And he was willing to kill his son, but he was faithful to God. It's not going to work, is it now? Oh, and you're going to have to push the buttons for me. I thought I was doing so well using somebody else's computer today. Should come up as A for action. Yeah, A for action. Fathers, good fathers. Fathers are action. People of action. Some of us, I'm going to point to Alex here, his days of action are possibly over. Unless you call coming up the stairs in the Stanner lift action. Okay? But when you're younger, even when you're 55 or whatever I am now, yeah, your days of action can still be there, running around fields yesterday, sliding down slides and monkey bars and all sorts of things, and then waking up this morning going, oh, I ache a little bit. But action, we are called to action. If we just sit around and do nothing, our children are not going to thrive. And God in the Bible says that you want to be people of action, people that do things. How many armchair athletes are here? You know, you're the better manager watching the football or the better manager watching the rugby, or is it cricket that's going on somewhere around here at the moment? But you sort of can tell everybody how they could do it, but when it comes to doing it yourself, you somehow fail. But good fathers don't just sit there. Good fathers get involved and do things. And children need an example, because children need examples of faith in action. And Jesus, through everything that he did in the Bible, apart from being a father, but we've got the Holy Spirit and we've got God the Father, so we've got that there. Through everything in the Bible, God demonstrated how we should behave and how we should live. Next one should be a teacher. Good fathers are teachers. Children look up to their fathers and to their mothers. I want to sort of say in everything here, when I say fathers, I mean mothers as well. But in Deuteronomy chapter 6, it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children. You shall talk to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." So all the time it says in Deuteronomy, this is what you should be doing. You should be teaching your children by your words, by your actions, By everything that you do, you should be teaching your children. And Deuteronomy is one of the books that Jesus would have been learning from. Jesus wouldn't have been learning Matthew, Mark, Luke and John and Acts because they hadn't been written. Jesus was looking in the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And he was looking at those, and so when he was quoting things, that's where he would be quoting from. So Jesus was a teacher. He got up and he taught us, and we should be looking at what Jesus teaches as well. So being faithful, men of action, or women of action, people of action, teachers. Hope. We have a hope. Surely our hope is in Christ. But dads are the pillar of strength, the people that we should look up to. For some of us, our fathers may not have been the hope. Our hope might have been, I hope I can get away from here as quick as I can. But all of us, I think, have got a picture of what we think the perfect dad is, or who the perfect dad should be. And maybe our memories of fathers may not have been that brilliant. But in our memories of our fathers, we might be looking to other people. Those people that are faithful, those people that have done the actions, the teachers, And we might be saying, I hope when I become a father or when I become a mother, I hope that I'll be a better father. I hope that I'll be able to treat my children in the way that they should go. And on there, we've got the Good Samaritan story, okay? It was, who is my neighbour? And everybody knew who their neighbour was. It was a person that they least expected. And I think sometimes we look at fathers, and sometimes we do things, or fathers do things, that you least expect, like the £5 turning into 40 or 20. And you go, oh, if only I'd known. But there's always a hope. I hope he does something that makes me proud. And sometimes the fathers think, I hope they do something that makes me proud. E is an example to us all of how we should live. And hopefully it's a positive example, because of course there are examples that can be bad, and we want to make sure that the things that we do are the positive examples. And sometimes, being a granddad, the examples that you can lead your grandchildren into can be the wrong examples. And then you see videos of their dads going, no, actually, I'm not too bad. I would never have swung them in that swing that high. Yes, wow, that was... But examples. But we lead by example. And I think everything in the Bible, when we look at the Bible, everything in the Bible is, here it is, lead by example. That the things that are given us in the Bible are all things that we should look at and go, do you know what? I want to copy that. I want to copy that. Oh, I don't think I should copy that because actually that's a bit dodgy. But it reminds me of a story that I heard about a rabbi. And this rabbi was a really old rabbi, and he had a load of young followers. And rabbi just means teacher. So we're going back up a few things. But all of his students were all in their teens and 20s. And all of his students followed the rabbi around like this. And whenever they stopped and listened to the rabbi, they all stood up and started listening to the rabbi. And somebody went up to these students one day and said, why do you all follow your rabbi round like this? And they said, he told us that we should follow his example. And he was so old, he always walks around like this. So we follow by example. So sometimes we just follow blindly, and those examples become traditional things. But we need to follow by example. In Corinthians 11, verse 1, it says, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. The most important example that a father can make is for his children to love others. Just like in that story of the Samaritan there, stopping and helping out the Jewish man. We need to be a good example. And the final one, be reliable. Good fathers are reliable. And they're responsible and they're consistent. But I didn't have enough letters because it spells father, hopefully. I did think earlier on I'd spelt father wrong, but I've got it right. Okay. They're reliable, and they're always good in times of crisis. Have you noticed if you're a dad, you always the children, Dad, what's the matter? Well, I'm stuck on a tree. Dad, I've cut my lip. This morning it was Mum, because Dad was busy. But whatever, we're there. We are there for the children. And the problem that we've got today is there aren't enough good examples. There aren't enough faithful people. There aren't enough men of action or women of action. There aren't enough teachers. There's not enough hope. There's no example. There's no reliability. We heard this morning of people like Clive Cornish, and others. But when you look at the background that they came from to what they've got now, you can actually look at people like Clive and say, do you know what? They're faithful. They're men of action. They're teachers. They've got a hope. They're a good example. They're reliable. You can look at them and do the right thing because they're in there. And we need to be attentive. It's not on there. It should have been another one. So children need all of these things to grow. And I was reminded yesterday as well of the sunflower. That our other grandchildren, it's only one, our grandchild has got a little sunflower. Well, it was a little sunflower a few months ago. It was about that big. And our daughter said, what do I do with it, Dad? I said, just plant it. But what do I do with it? Just put it in the garden. God will do everything else. And she put it in the garden, and we went round yesterday, and the sunflower is like about up there. And we went, what did you do with it? She went, nothing, Dad, it's just growing. I think she's watered it a bit, but it's rained as well. But it's amazing that when you see those things there, that they grow. And we need the responsible adults there, because if it had just been left to Mia, she'd have probably pulled it out a long time ago. So we do need to have all of those things. So fathers influence their children. They're all of those things. And I don't know what your view of your earthly fathers are. And again, as I've said, some of us, we're looking at young fathers. Some of us, we look at ourselves as fathers and think, did I do a good job? Am I still doing a good job? Some of us look to our fathers who have passed away, and today was tinged with sadness. Others look to the past and go, do you know what? I've got no good remembrances of my father. Whatever our recollections of fathers, whatever our views of fathers are, we have got a Father in heaven who loved us. He loved us so much that whatever we've done, whatever our past was like, he was willing to send his Son to this earth. And Jesus came to this earth and died on a cross. He never did anything wrong, but he followed everything his Father told him to do. And he went to the cross and he died on the cross.